I might post this up the same day. I'm just sitting here thinking I had a question asked to me that was interesting, and I have an answer for it. But my answer right now is I'm really just going off of the top of my head right now. This isn't. I don't write anything down, so there's no pre-planned thing. I'm just talking. So the question was basically asked is like if Neville's work is true, that imagining can create reality or does. Can one believe in twin flames and sort of create a reality from that? I think there's a lot going on with this question, because you can substitute twin flames with anything, right? This is just the subject that we're talking about, and there's an implication with the subject. Is basically what we're saying is like, can I create a world where I get what I want through this method, which is obviously doesn't make sense with Neville's work. You would just go to the end. In the end, you wouldn't have to do all this twin flame stuff. But I want to talk about the question itself. I want to talk about like this idea that people are seeking this type of truth outside of them, and they're not understanding what truth is. This world that we're in only offers you half truths and falsehoods. Just honestly, just the gods people worship in this world are false. They're all false because they're not you. And by you, I don't mean your little ego self. I mean, we'll get into that in a second. Like every god that people follow in this world that's outside of them is a false god. It's not true. It's a falsehood. And so there are things that are false in this world, and which would imply there's something true. But if you can see truth not as a concept or some like idea, it's not even a state. Truth is a being. If you can see it as a way of being and a being itself, and that being is you, you see that you are truth itself. Truth is a man. It's not a concept in the world. It's not outside of man. So you read in scripture that I am the truth. So my awareness of being is the truth. That's the truth I'm looking for. It's my own awareness of being. And it's really a present awareness of being. That's the truth. It's a way of being, and it is a being. And we tend to go outside of ourselves to seek a truth, and all we bump into are false gods and falsehoods. And so the question, coming back to the twin flame thing, the twin flame thing kind of feels like a falsehood to me. It feels like a unnecessary step in the mind to assume one has what they want. It's like we're almost manipulating these little things. We're trying to say, okay, well, if I do this, I can get that. It's like we're still trying to get to the end, but we're going in a very convoluted way. It's like, well, why don't I imagine having the right tarot cards drawn, and that would imply that I am the thing. You know what I'm trying to say? It's sort of like we're like almost trying to perfect the method in which that will imply something about us, and I just find that to be wrong. I just do. I think it's a wrong way. I think you should just assume you are the thing you want to be. A lot of the time I just let the scene develop on its own. I don't even choose it. I just start to assume that I am who I want to be, and I just let it develop. Or if it's a feeling that comes up, I go with the feeling with no judgment. I just accept it. I embrace it as if it's a part of me, because it is, and it's inside of me. And so yeah, I view the twin flames things as a all these kinds of things, like looking to the stars to align, looking for these religious beliefs to make sense. They just don't to me. They don't make any sense to me. I don't see why I would ever believe in twin flames. I see no reason for it, because it seems like I'm going outside to something else to decide my fate. And I don't like that. If I am the truth, then why am I going outside of myself to find it? Why am I trying to find it in something else that isn't me? And then you understand what a false god is. A false god is anything that's taking you really away from yourself and making that thing God, because it's you. And so we create all this meaning around the idea of twin flames, and we make it up as we go. But you don't need to go to that. It's like you don't need to go to the stars to figure out who you are or what you're doing inside. It doesn't have to be outside of yourself. It doesn't have to be in some cards. I am totally against all of it. Not against in the sense that like I rail against it or anything. It's more that I would never go to it for it to decide anything for me. The decision's made within, and it's done by the inner man, not the outer one. The outer one, you can rearrange the cards all day long. You can keep flipping them until you get the ones you want. But that's a false god to me. That's a false way of going about things. You should assume you are something before anything in the world shows it to you. You should assume you are it. And just try that first before you deny it, before you just, say it's silly. Try to assume you are something before you are, and you'll start to see yourself become that thing. You'll take upon the feeling maybe first, and then maybe naturally some thoughts arise, and you take upon the thoughts of that way of being, and then you feel that way of being, and then you walk in that way of being, and you start to just become it. And the more you kind of persist in being that new way, and you expand it to other areas in your life, even for moments at a time, you just start to become that. And then you start to just see it reflected in your world. It happens very naturally. It's a very natural thing that happens. It's not going to be crazy. Usually it's very natural, and you don't even really notice it. That's why you should just focus within. Don't look outside for signs. Just focus within. Keep your focus on yourself. Acknowledge that you are the truth you're seeking. It's you. Sometimes people come to me and they ask me if they can imagine something. And it's like, of course you can. Like it's almost like they're asking to seek permission from me to decide whether or not they can imagine something. And the truth is, it doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter. Like, it's like just what Neville said. If you have self-conviction of being something, what does it matter what I think? You have to eliminate that. Edward's thoughts don't really matter. They don't. Not really. You can imagine whatever you want. That type of freedom is up to you. And you're entirely free inside, because you're self-approved. You're self-anointed. You decide what you imagine without anyone's permission. It's the dreamer. It can just do whatever they want. And so asking me, someone in your dream, in a sense, if you're allowed to imagine something, is silly, right? If I appeared in your dream tonight, would you ask me if you're allowed to imagine something in it? No, you shouldn't, because you just dreamt of me as some authority figure that I decide what you can and can't imagine. I don't decide that. But it's just like what Neville said, it seems to be easier to live with more love than fear. It's easier to live a life of peace than being at war with oneself. It seems to be easier to live in surrender than it is to live in a tense position. So you find ways that are easier for you, but you can imagine whatever you want, and I don't dictate that, and neither does Neville. And I'm just sort of saying that because people tend to come to me with, it kind of reminds me of this twin flames question, which is like, I guess you can imagine, those things. I think that it's probably not the best way, but obviously you can imagine that way. You can imagine what you want. I think you should go to what you want and see yourself the way you want to be, regardless of external fact. Just start now. Let your imagination for once be a fact. Just try it. See your imagination as fact rather than just fantasy. And if you do, you'll start to shape it, and you'll realize I'm shaping truth because I'm shaping myself, because I am one with my imagination. So the more I shape it, the more time I spend on it. It's like a sculptor. The more time you put in, even if you put in years on yourself, you're going to make yourself into a beautiful sculpture. And all it takes is for you to remove fears on the inside. The same way you remove them in a dream. When it's a really bad nightmare, it's not until you become aware that you're dreaming it that the nightmare goes away. It's no longer scary. The monster is just no longer scary. Anything that was terrifying in the dream just kind of stops. And it all stops because you became aware. And so you have to just become aware that you're dreaming this. You don't have to stay in the dream. You can change it whenever you want on the inside. It's us thinking that we can't. And so you can see your imagination as this like vast just imagine it as a vat, like a huge infinite field, and you're just focused on one little corner, thinking that this is all there is. And it's the same narrative we're repeating in our heads. But really, you can always know that you're not stuck in this one little spot in imagination. If you can see it that way, it's obvious. It's obvious that you're not stuck. And the only way to free oneself in imagination is to feel oneself to be already free in it. You assume you already are it in imagination. And that's how you start to become things. And it's all through assumption. There's no work that needs to be done, right? You don't shovel snow in your mind. I guess you could, but you don't necessarily. That's not what I mean. Like, you don't put in that type of effort. It's all through assumption. That's how you move. You assume that you already are that thing, and you'll find that you already are. So I know that this wasn't the most coherent answer. I know it's not short and to the point, but all I'm saying is that you should focus, to answer the question, I guess, quickly, I would say just focus on imagining that you are who you want to be, rather than trying to figure out what tarot cards you need to pull, what twin flame idea do you need to believe, or how the stars need to be aligned, or how you need to rearrange the couches and furniture before you get to, man does this all the time. We think that it has to come out a certain way before I become something within. And that is a reactive state. It's reactive. It's not a state that decides freedom. You decide it when you want to, for how long you want to. You decide it whenever you want to. In spite of organ perception, you decide your own freedom whenever you want, and you make it. You make the wish fulfilled. Everything within you that you desire, you make it independent of external confirmation. So you don't need external confirmation first. You live life in reverse. You confirm it within, and you start to become it within. And you live your life from the inside out, rather than trying to rearrange the outside to, fulfill the inside, which is a silly game that we've been playing for a long time. And it starts to end when you just rearrange the inside. You start to see that you're the one doing it all. And you really discover who you are. And you're an imaginal being. You're not just a physical one. And so, yeah, that's going to be my answer. I'm just going to conclude that there. Hope you enjoyed it. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you did. But I just think that one should focus on oneself rather than these a new ism or a new thing that pops up. Just reform and change I am, which is your own awareness of what you are and what you're being. But okay, just keep a lookout. I'm almost done with the series and still working on it. I also do live streams. If you're interested in that, just go to the description. You'll see you can join. I do them every week. But okay, I'm going to wrap this up here. Thank you.